Okay, so in this tutorial, I just want to look on some tips and tricks, kind of small ads that will make the work alpha planes trees work a little bit better. First off, inside the billboard, if we're going right inside and we'll go to the leaf, in some case when you work with materials, you can switch to advanced material editor. Okay, notice it will give it warning with this, and be sure you go in highlights and disable highlights. By default they may be set on, and you'll notice some glare or other going on. In some cases you want it, but to make it better work, because highlights will give it through all of the plant, so it won't give it just on the leaves, and it will look sometimes very artificial. However, if you change your color to a little bit dim, you can add it. But I will recommend to take highlights down. You don't necessarily need going inside the advanced. You can do same one in a basic if you go just to the lighting tab and take intensity and global size to the 0. That will make look also good. Okay, let's go ahead, click OK on this. Also notice when we set lighting, you can also adjust the lighting on the plant preview. But remember also, when we did inside the Photoshop, we also have options there to set proper lighting on a degrees. So if you want to match and make precise, you can adjust lights inside the Photoshop as well. So next thing, sometimes you want to animate. And if you remember before, when you modify the plant, so for example, you go upload it and you change to different, and you may have it multiple versions. And if you numbered them properly, like 1, 2, 3, 4, the plant factor will recognize and think it's a sequence. So you actually can preload it some sequence inside your plants. And this way you can pre-animate. You don't necessarily need to do this if you want animate plant, even alpha map, inside the view. All what you need to do in this case, just going inside the transform, enable wind. Remember, this will stretch a lot because it's think it is a leaf. And we need to set maybe very low string effect on our wind. You can always preview by enabling wind. And you can see like right here, it's just slightly shimmering. So it is moving, but not as much. If you pop up this a little bit higher, you can see it will affect much stronger wind in this case on our leaf. Okay, so let's go back. We'll set 0.02, just small, so it's give it little bit adjustments. We cannot necessarily adjust all individual branches, but we do have options to some allowed to override breeze. And remember, because it's a leaf, it will kind of start bending inside, so it will have some ability. And because the alpha planes we want to display far away distance, so it will be far away, you won't see necessarily this, you will just see little shimmering, so it does give it perception of the movements. Also remember, you can go inside the root, and inside here you have the wind properties where we can modify how they influence. For example, influence on the leaves, we can take overall influence, bring down without modifying, modify speed, randomness adjusting. So we have all these options as well that you can do modification. Think about this tree. It's not a tree, it's just a leaf that we're using from alpha plane. So all this is influence on the leaf that will be influenced on this image. Okay, overall here you have it random. If you need it, remember you can add as many as you wanted. They also can modify some coloring. If we click on a billboard on our leaf, you notice right here we have it alternate materials. So we also can apply some different type of materials, not necessarily one of these. As well, we can apply color shift to our plants. So we can modify the plants, make it different colors, not necessarily all green. We can also modify slightly on the hues and add maybe even shifting. So on this case, if we're going inside our random one, and as we're doing all these different modifications, it will modify. Remember, I modified just in one billboard. So if you want this applied to all plants, you need to go inside and modify. What I do recommend for you to do, create one billboard, go add all modifications you wanted for this, and after copy paste multiple times and replace just the image. On this way, you don't need to go through every image, through every billboard and click to all tabs and set them this way. So you can create only once, copy and paste, and just replace the alpha map right here. You also can save this as a material. Remember, load or save material, or you can double click or right click, go edit and modify options inside. Notice we also have it with the bump map. In some application, if you have a bump map for the plant, you can apply it. It will give it somewhat 3D effect, but again, because it will be far away, you won't see that effect strong at all. It just create a little bit more messy look if you're using map, and it will take additional time to render because it's need process that additional map on our plants. Okay, so let's go now step inside the view. So inside the view, the biggest problem when we're creating a plant, so in this case, let's click and create alpha plant. What do we have it? With any alpha plane type materials inside the view, the biggest problem it is the shadowing. So if we look on a plant right here, let's place it down and dump on the ground maybe. Okay, there you go. We'll take our camera and just bring closer so we can preview it. Okay, what's happening, it's actually one big plane right there. All what we see, it is transparency. Problem with the view, sometimes your transparency, it's fine, but you notice right here, we actually rendering shadows based on this transparency. And to render that shadow, it's take a time. And if you set a soft shadows, that will literally bring render time to dramatic increase. It's bring your system to the knee almost to try to render. So the tip is, don't use it soft shadows on an alpha map. So it's meaning you don't want to go right here and add softness, or going to edit shadow on your sun and use its shadow map. This will create a lot of significant time of rendering. If you want to make soft shadows, apply inside the materials or just use its shadow density overall. Remember, you can always, it is because material, you can go modify it, and right here I'll just go modify all materials, so apply it for all billboards. And inside here I have it options. You remember the hide shadows, cast shadows, don't cast. And again, if you don't cast shadows, for example, don't receive shadows or other things, you won't necessarily will have it some nice effect, but it will increase render time significantly. So you want to don't cast shadows, example, don't receive shadows. On this case, the plant will, okay, let's go click OK, it will apply it. And you can see right here, we don't cast, we don't producing, so it will render significantly faster. But again, you will lose some of this dimension, and this will work very well if you're using far away alpha plane. So if you have far away mountains and you want to have trees on them, you can just disable this and it will create a nice look on the plants. But again, it saves a lot of time from rendering those effects. Again, you can do this inside the view if you need it, but always you can go back to plant. And remember, in a plants, when you go modify it, you have it exactly the same in advanced material editor. You have options right here, how you want this billboard to affect. Okay, there are a couple more things before we finish with this kind of tips and tricks. Remember, this billboard, it's facing camera. You'll have it inside the property of the leaf where you can modify if you're using facing camera onward towards, so you can modify. You don't necessarily need to facing, but in most cases, you probably want to be faced cameras. Also, properties for the random child. And if you need to look more on this, we have a tutorials where we're going through all properties so you can learn how they work. But overall, you can notice right here we have our basic setup generic, so you can do same things, just play with the different random populations. Same as a wind, similar what we have in root. We have it also properly on a meshing, and most important that you probably want to look on this level of details where you can set where compression will happen. So in some cases, if you want higher, you can put it all the way high quality or whatever. So in this case, it will render better or worse, depend how closer to the camera the alpha plane will be, and the texture will adjust currently towards that. But if using by default, it still works just fine and doing great job on this. Okay, also you have a level of base if you need to bend or some other options, and presets if you already create before and one preloaded. So overall, here's the overview of the alpha planes with the small tips and tricks, and hopefully this will help you to create better renders, save a lot on time, and express more of your creativity. Thank you for watching these tutorials from Geekatplay Studio. Please remember visit us on the web is www.geekatplay.com.